Moving 2K, and I'm here to bring you all the latest Manchester United news. I'm looking forward to this one, guys, because we got plenty to talk about, and I'm interested in seeing how you guys are. Right, it's been a while. I feel like it's been a while since I've done one of these types of shows. So let's get right into it. We got Raphael Varane was injured yesterday in the game against France. France played in the Nations League final against Spain. France obviously won, so congrats to Paul Pogba, Martial, and Varane, who obviously represented us. Unfortunate for David De Gea on the other side playing for Spain, even though he's not actually been playing for Spain, and they probably could have used him in goal, but hey, that's a conversation for another day. Now, Raphael Varane came off injured. I forgot what sort of minute it was, but he did walk off injured and they subbed on Upamecano. And of course, that now becomes a big worry for us because, after the international break, our run of fixtures becomes increasingly difficult. And if we're not going to have Raphael Varane and Maguire, because Maguire is also currently injured and we're not really too sure when he's going to be back, this becomes a big issue, right? It becomes a really big issue where we're probably going to have to play Lindelof and Bailly. And to be fair, I've always liked Bailly. I've always been a fan of Bailly. And this season, Lindelof's actually been quite decent. But you don't want to have your substitute back line when we're going up against Leicester, who, to be fair, Leicester haven't looked too good. But then we have Atlanta in the Champions League, which is a massive game for us. And then we also have Liverpool in the league, right, after the Atlanta game. And so this now becomes very, 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 very difficult for us, right? More so than it already was, due to the way we've currently been performing and whatnot. Now, with Maguire, it's expected he's coming back mid to late October. That's sort of the expectations. We haven't really been given concrete times on these things. And with Varane's injury, hopefully it is maybe just a couple-day thing or, 1 or 2 weeks. Hopefully we're not going into that Liverpool game without Varane and Maguire, right? I think a lot of us are sort of fine with, Varane is injured, so we play Lindelof and Maguire, or Maguire's injured, so we play Lindelof and Varane. I'm cool with that, but I do start to fear when it's a matter of, Lindelof and Bailly, even though, to be fair, I do like both of those guys as centre-back. So hopefully, right, that doesn't now materialize into more of an issue because Varane has been a great addition to our defence. I know a lot of people sort of gone, well, we've not really been keeping clean sheets and, it's not been perfect at the back. But, when I look at Varane and when I look at what he's offered individually, a lot of the times in games when we've struggled defensively, I look at Varane and he's constantly, doing the right things. And that gives me a lot of hope. That gives me a lot of optimism. We know he's a great centre-back. And I very much think we will miss him when we don't have him in the team, similar to how, it seems like we miss Maguire when we don't have him in the team. So hopefully we can get both of those guys back. Rohan in chat says, it's Jonesy time. I don't think it's Jonesy time, big man. I'll be real. I would not bet my life on Phil Jones starting, but you know what? I've seen crazier things happen. Lee Gelder with the super chat saying, Bailly speed versus Leicester equals a blessing in disguise. Look, I don't think, when as a partnership, I don't think Bailly and Lindelof are not well suited to each other. I think, when you're looking at both of their skills individually as centre-backs, they probably complement each other more so than Maguire and Lindelof did, right? The problem is sticking those two in a sort of one-off game, after maybe not having a run of games to get accustomed to the system and get accustomed to, playing in the team, that can cause some errors. Like, you do start to put yourself in a position where you might be error prone. With Leicester, of course, the pace is going to be good to have because they'll have Vardy, they'll have potentially Pats and Daka, Iheanacho and Vardy or Iheanacho and Daka playing up front as well could be a big threat. But let's hope we don't have to worry about that, right? Let's hope Varane will be fine and we can play Varane and Lindelof or whatever the case. My guy is here, but let's put Levin at the back until McGann gets back. You know what, yeah? I'd put a shift in at centre-back. All the aerial... I'm getting all the aerial duels. No one's beating me in the air. I'll tell you that much. So yeah, I wouldn't mind. If anybody from Manchester United is watching, you know where to find me. We got a super chat here from Threefold Path saying, waiting to see the back five of Bailly, Lindelof, Jones, Tellers, and Delo. What can possibly... Ooh, you know what, yeah? I like... You know what? Sometimes I don't like when people theory craft and chat, but this theory crafting, I do like this. I didn't think about this. That could be a possibility. That could well be a possibility where we do play, a back three with Lindelof, Bailly, and Jones. Phil Jones, wow. can't believe there's a chance he plays. But you know what? I've seen crazier things happen. And I think there's a chance that, you know, we go into that game going, we probably need a bit of extra protection. Maybe Oli would have watched France play and he would have said, you know what, yeah, the Champs got the best out of Pogba playing in, you know, that back five system. Maybe I play Pogba and McTominay in the pivot and Bruno as the number 10 and I play a back five and we go with that, right? Who knows, right? Coaches always inspire each other and whatnot. So maybe that is a possibility. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't like that. I don't think a lot of people in our fan base are okay with the prospect of playing a back three / back five. Understandably, I think very much when you look at what traditionally a back five represents, you know, it very much goes against what we want as a club in terms of the type of football. Even though it can be done, it's not impossible to be, you know, to play fluid attacking football while playing a back three, but it does typically go against. And when we've seen Oli use it, it definitely hasn't looked like the fluid attacking football we wanted to see. So, but don't rule that out, guys. Do not rule that out. That is always a possibility. Now, speaking on the topic of France, I want to stay on the topic of France. They obviously won the Nations League once again. Shout out to Pogba, Martial, and Varane for winning that. Pogba obviously played incredibly well for France yesterday, and I think it sparked lots of conversation about how we failed to get the best out of him, how we still haven't managed to figure out how to use Pogba. It sparked a lot of conversation about how we should be signing Tchouaméni, who played alongside Pogba, and he's looked really good. I've watched a couple Monaco games as well, and I like Tchouaméni. People have really been discussing Pogba over the past sort of, you know, 12 or 24 hours, whatever. Now, it's interesting because Pogba actually had one of his rare, you know, few good, almost defensive games. Because he wasn't amazing defensively, but he won a lot of ground jewels, and he was in a couple battles and he did win them. And I think that made people go, "Oh my goodness, he can defend. He very much can defend." And you know, I don't buy into that because one, it's one game, and two, I've seen Pogba do that before. It's weird, right, with Pogba, because you have somebody in Pogba who, when you look at Pogba, you think to yourself, you know, this guy is someone who should be a good defender. Like certain people, you look at them and you go, okay, that guy should be a good defender, right? You know, you look at like a Wan-Bissaka, you know, he's quite big, he's relatively lanky, he's got really long legs, right? And so you can sort of see it, right? You can sort of see where, okay, this guy could be a good defender. And in Wan-Bissaka's case, he is. And then Pogba, you look at him and you go, physically big, he's not lightning quick, but he's quick enough and he's quite strong. And you think, this guy's he could be a serious defender. But weirdly enough, you know, he just never seems to really have bought into the idea of defending. I don't think I'm not even going to say I don't think he likes it. He's literally told us he can't defend, right? And I think people often forget that with Pogba. He literally just told us he can't defend. I remember back to the game against Roma where we won 6-2 and he gave away the penalty. And in the post-match interview, he goes, you know, I tried to be the English guy that tackles, and I can tackle. And after that, I just said, you know what, yeah, even though he's doing it in a joking manner, he's telling us he can't. He's literally telling us, you know, he can't tackle, and that he ain't really trying to be that type of defender. And it's funny because the same sort of conversation sparked up again during the Euros for France when on ITV, I believe it was Patrick Vieira and Roy Keane talking about, you know, Paul Pogba and defending and why he's not necessarily, you know, done that side of the game well enough over his time at United. And, you know, he himself responded to that in an interview as well, talking about how when it was Juventus, you know, he had the freedom to attack and he had to be the one to get into the box. And with Manchester United, there is more of an impetus on defending and being defensively sound. And I think for the most part, that's not him as a player, and that's not where you're going to get the best out of him. And that's why he's been so successful for France, because France play a system and France will do what they can to accommodate him in a role where he isn't having to worry about the defensive duties of the game. So you look at yesterday, right, where they're playing the back five, you know, he doesn't have that much of a responsibility defending because he has Tchouaméni next to him, who defensively does a lot and is well positioned and can cover that third of the pitch. You also have 3 centre-backs behind him. And I had a lot of people responding to me going, Levin, you know, he's played in the back four for France as well. And that is true. But when you look at when he's played in the back four for France, he's also been in the back four where they are playing another sort of defensive midfielder out wide, right? So you look at those successful France teams, you know, like the World Cup team, for example. where they're playing Matuidi as a left winger. Matuidi's not a left winger. If you watch those games, Matuidi tucks inside to the midfield. Griezmann, who would start as a number 10, would drift out wide left, and Pogba had freedom in the sort of midfield to play in that role. You look at, when they do it with Rabiot, they'd start off and line up in like a 4-4-2 type shape or something like that. It doesn't really matter the starting shape, but they'd play Rabiot, Pogba, and Kante. And so Rabiot, who sort of is more of a defensive-minded type of midfielder, would play in the midfield with Kante, and it gives Pogba the freedom. Similar thing when they played with Tolisso. Like, you know what I mean? So they've consistently, done their best to put the right players on the pitch to allow Pogba to have a bit more defensive freedom. And the problem with our team is he doesn't necessarily have that freedom in our team, right? He doesn't have that luxury because we have so many more attacking players ahead of him. And I think that's why Oli realized, okay, if I play him out on the left, then I can still get all those defensive players into the team and Pogba gets to play still. But obviously with Rashford coming back, that probably isn't on the cards. And so it's going to be a big challenge for Oli, because I don't think he's going to switch to a back five. I think that's how you'd solve it at Manchester United. The problem is when you switch to a back five at Manchester United, you then leave out the likes of Rashford and Sancho, and questions arise there. So yeah, I just rambled for quite a long time. That was fun. I like that. Did you guys like that? Should I ramble a bit more? Tchouaméni is a class player, says Bot OP. I really am impressed by Tchouaméni. I think he very much has shown that he's wise ahead of his years when it comes to defensively. Like, he can cover that third of the pitch where Pogba might leave spaces open in behind and things of that nature. And so that is the kind of player that we probably should be looking at. But that's what it is. We've got a super chat here from Mark Perales, who says, Pogba has been here 6 years. What has he done to justify 500k per week? The most overrated player in history. He does well for France due to class around him. Juventus was the same. Now, I think there's a lot of United fans who get caught in Mark Perales's sort of mindset. And I think it represents two sides, because there is divide on Pogba. And I very much understand both sides. And it goes back to what I was saying about Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira when they were talking about it on ITV at the Euros, because Roy Keane obviously was somebody who, for us as a defender, did everything, right? He was very solid defensively. He was more of an all-round player than a Paul Pogba is, for example. And his mindset was similar to yours, Mark, right? So his mindset was very much, Pogba's got to buy into the defensive side of the game. He has to become a better defender. His attitude has to improve in that sense. We can't always kick up a fuss about him. He has to sort of just do that job. And Patrick Vieira, who's represented the other side, was going, well, you look at the teams where he has succeeded, he's been given more freedom to do those attacking roles. And I think when you look at his time at Manchester United, I always preach about optimization of players. If you're going to buy a player, especially for as much as we bought Pogba for, you need to make sure he's being optimized. You need to make sure you're getting the best out of him and putting him in the best positions to succeed, right? And because we've seen that when you do that, you can get a very, very good player in Paul Pogba. And quite frankly, we haven't done that at Manchester United. We've not surrounded, for one, the majority of the time that he was here, he wasn't surrounded with the kind of talent that he had at the likes of Juventus and France, which we should have had as Manchester United, right? We should have the most talented players in the world. We always pretty much have, right? And as well as that, we have given him, opportunities to shine in a role where he has less freedom. But you look at those times, like when Oli came in and he played Matic and Herrera, Pogba, that was when Pogba was pretty at his best in the past sort of couple of years, right, at Manchester United, because he had that freedom. So we've never really consistently put him in a position, playing-wise, where he can shine, I believe. And some people disagree. Some people go, look, some people are like Mark and they'll go, look, I can't be bothered for this no more. We've seen enough of Paul Pogba, and I think you're well within your right to believe that. I personally do like him, and I wish we would have put him in better positions to succeed at Manchester United. There's always, it takes two to tango at the end of the day. Whereas Bailly's been on the bench. He's been on the bench. Any Haaland news? So on Haaland, I saw a report from the Daily Mail, I believe it was, and the Daily Mail essentially said that we're linked to Haaland, we're interested in Haaland, and it's a weird one because I usually see Haaland's reports and I sort of just go, leave it out, man. I'm not trying to hear this. And I'm sure next time we have Romano on the channel, he will answer any questions we have about Haaland. But quite frankly, I don't want to hear it from the Daily Mail. If you work for the Daily Mail, big up yourself, man. I'm sure you're a wonderful person. I'm not trying to hear about Haaland right now. I think, it's likely that the club would want Haaland, right? Next year, there's a possibility, we are going to lose Cavani next year. There's a possibility that we lose Martial as well. And so you'll be in a situation where you have Ronaldo and Greenwood. Maybe the club do decide they want another striker. Who knows, right? But at the moment, from everything we've heard from Romano and other, reliable sources, we shouldn't be thinking about Haaland right now, because I think Haaland very much is waiting until next summer to, suss out all his options and figure out what's the best project for him. But no doubt that we will be interested in him. Can we expect to play Bailly now, Adi? Says Adi. Probably, yeah. If Maguire and Varane aren't back in time for the Leicester or Atlanta games and even the Liverpool game. Mark Perales with another super chat rebutting. I appreciate people who will, bounce back and give me their opinion. He says, roughly what % of the games has Pogba been world class for United? He's played a lot of games. I can't sit here and tell you the percentage. I know Mark is a percentage guy. I'm not going to sit here and try and give you the percentages. Ligma, good name, says, remove your voice changer, sir. I don't have a voice changer. I've just, have a really deep voice. I'm surprised you've never heard a deep voice before. Pretty much a shame. Tchouaméni was class in the final. Should definitely buy him. I think there's a good chance Tchouaméni will start to be increasingly linked to us. Of course, he was linked to us at the end of last transfer window, and I think there's a good chance that will happen again, because Tchouaméni very much is, he's in the mold of the type of player we probably should be looking at, where he is quite physically strong. Even for his quite young age, he's quite physically strong and robust. He does a lot of defensive work in that third of the pitch that we need someone to be able to do. Obviously, there would now just be questions about his now ball playing ability and, is he better than Fred and McTominay in that remark? Levin's got a Mr. Steal Your Girl voice. Guys, what's Ligma? There's a good one for you. All right, let's talk about something else before we start going into fairy tale La La Land, because I think Facundo Pellistri did an interview with The Athletic, and he did an interview with The Athletic talking about his prospects. I forgot what club he was at. He was at a Uruguayan club. I think it was Penarol, and he obviously moved to Manchester United. And in the interview, he talked about how he thought he was going to be going to Lyon, and then we came in with an offer last minute, and we swooped him up. And I'm happy we did, because I really like Facundo Pellistri. He's impressed me when I've seen him play in the academy. When he's played for us in preseason, he looks pretty good. I'm not sure how he's doing at Alves on loan. I'm not sure how he's doing. I remember hearing something about him maybe not necessarily getting as much playtime as he wanted to. But the big thing with Facundo Pellistri is that he's very much a talented player that needs to be playing more and more first-team football. I saw a lot of people saying, if Lyon was in for him and we got him, why didn't we loan him to Lyon, where he probably would have played? Because as far as I'm aware, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, as far as I'm aware of Lyon, their wingers aren't amazing. If you know differently, correct me. Bloody hell. Oh. I wanna something that, them ones there where it's just something hit you. Something just hits the throat. Mad. How long is Varane out for? We're not sure yet. It's expected to be 1 or 2 weeks. 1 or 2 weeks, maybe. COVID, no. Let's not start this. Not COVID. Levin's got I ain't got Ligma. Don't try to do me like that. All right, cool. But yeah, so Facundo Pellistri is obviously somebody to continue to watch out for. It's good to see that he's continuing to develop, and hopefully in a couple years' time, he's somebody that is a primary part of our rotation, because I definitely think he has the talent to do so. Of course, he just needs a pathway. And in a club right now where we have, like 15 wingers who looked good, it's going to be difficult for him, but he definitely can. And like Ethan says in chat, the likes of Ahmad and whatnot are also in the picture. Levin's got the Rona. I ain't got the Rona, man. Stop trying to do me like, I don't know how you men do other people, but stop trying to do me like that. I ain't got the Rona. I was going to say something though. Let me try to see if anyone said it in chat, so I don't have to. He's being treated like Donny. Let's not do that. Let's not say he's being treated like Donny. He's gone out on loan. Donny didn't get the chance to leave, so let's not say that. Leon got Shaqiri after United got Pelestri. Oh yeah, true. Leon did get Shaqiri this summer, didn't they? So they were in. It makes sense, right? They clearly were in for a winger, or somebody who plays out wide. I saw people saying they got Tovin and whatnot. I thought he played for Marseille, but maybe he switched sides. I'm trying to find the report there. So of course there was Pelestri. Oh, Maguire's contract. Somebody asked me about Maguire's contract. It's a weird one. So obviously, I think Mark might have done a show about it, but Maguire's obviously been offered, or there's reports that he's being offered a new contract, but it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, in terms of like, oh, does he deserve a new contract? Yeah, maybe he does, in the sense of, you know, he's become a big part of our squad. He's the captain. He's well respected. He's played well over the past year, but it doesn't really make sense for us to just offer him a new contract because of that. You know, he's got like 4 or 5 years left on his contract. It doesn't really make too much sense. You know, maybe if somebody in the chat knows why this makes sense, personally, it just doesn't make much sense to me. He's not going anywhere. I've not heard any. Have any of you heard reports about Real Madrid or somebody trying to come in and buy Maguire? Like, I've not heard it. So I don't think he's leaving anytime soon, but maybe it's just a case of the club doing what they seem to do. One thing with the club that I seem to notice is they have this attitude of let's take care of these guys, right? And maybe that's what their idea is on. We spent 70 mil on Pelestri and Ahmad, and they're going nowhere near the squad. Why doesn't the media ask about this? Because it's not true, Mark. We didn't spend 70 mil on Ahmad and Pelestri. Where did you get? We spent like 7 mil on Pelestri. Where you get your numbers from, big man? Yeah, the numbers ain't hitting right. Anyway, back to Maguire. When is Maguire due back? We're not sure. Estimated mid to end of October. But yeah, I don't see the reason to necessarily, you know, hand out a new contract. It doesn't really make much sense. What you actually leave yourself vulnerable to is situations like we had with the likes of, you know, Phil Jones and other players who are on crazy contracts. I'm not comparing, you know, Phil Jones to Maguire. Maguire is obviously better than all those guys. But if we just offer him a new improved wage contract for the sake of it, knock on wood, if something was to happen, if he was to all of a sudden just turn into a dud, now we're stuck with a Maguire who's on like 300k a week, right? It just wouldn't make much sense. It's not time to let Maguire go. Let's not say this. Let's not say this. 50 million. So probs, we didn't spend 50 million on Pelestri and Ahmad. One thing that people get confused with Ahmad, right, is so Ahmad's cost us about around a potential of 37 million, right? Something around that number, around let's just round up to 40, right? A potential 40 million, but we didn't actually pay 40 million outright. It's 40 million if he hits certain bonuses, etc., right? We're not sure what the bonuses are. We actually paid around like 17 million or so for Ahmad, but it has the potential to rise to about 40 odd million. And then we paid like 7 million or so for Pelestri. So we in total paid for both of them around 25 million, which isn't that bad considering they're both incredibly good prospects who, given more first team football, will probably both exceed that value. So we didn't pay 70 million or 50 million for the, I don't know. It has the potential to rise. A lot of deals are done like that, right? You can sign a player for 50 million, but it has the potential to rise to 70 million. Doesn't mean it will, but we didn't pay 40 odd million outright for Ahmad. Guys, can we what am I seeing people, some people in the chat going mad, you know? I don't know. I know it's a Monday morning, but some of you are moving a bit mad. How am I seeing man in the chat saying sold the fridge? What fridge? You got an old fridge in your kitchen or something? What do you mean sold the fridge? Maguire's, what's your issue? I don't understand some people, man. Some people just flip-flop on, like, I don't get it, man. Andy with a super chat saying, with all these options for the first team, there is no scope for youth development in our team. I think a lot of people feel that way right now, but I wouldn't necessarily agree because, you know, you sort of players cycle in and out, right? Players cycle in and out, and I think ultimately when you look at the players we have, a lot of these people will probably get their opportunities. Like the likes of Ahmad and Pelestri probably will get their opportunities. When you look at who's ahead of them, yeah, you got some great young players ahead of them, but certain players potentially on their out. So for example, right, because people will say, what are you talking about? Give us an example. So for example, Ronaldo's not going to be here forever. Cavani, we know, is literally leaving at the end of this year. Martial has heavily been linked to leaving, and it probably is a possibility with the lack of game time he's been getting. And so those minutes that would typically be going to those guys then open up to other players, right? And so that's probably what you can expect to see happen. You can probably expect to see the likes of Ahmad and Pelestri slowly filtering in and getting more game time, assuming they do well on their loans, right? Assuming they do well on their loans. If they're not doing well on their loans, they won't get a chance. And that's just how it is for any club, not just Manchester United. If they're not doing well on their loans, they're not going to get a chance. But assuming they do well when they go out on loan, obviously I know Ahmad's not on loan yet for the people who will try and correct me, but I think the goal was that he would go out on loan, and so I'd expect that to happen in January probably. So I don't think there's no pathway to the first team for youth players. I think it's definitely not an easy pathway at the moment where our squad's becoming a bit bloated, I think it's fair to say, where we have a lot of first team players, a lot of senior players, and a lot of them probably don't even play, but yet are still ahead of the youth players. And I think that would be a concern for people, but I wouldn't pull the panic button on that yet. You think playing when every month he's fighting to keep his job? And I think that's something to talk about. I think that's something to talk about. Jem Cole just put that in the chat. Look, one thing that some people don't want to accept sometimes, and I don't always like it because I don't always like Ollie's team selections, right? But ultimately, a manager that's under pressure is just going to play the players they trust, right? And some people will go, you know, will start getting better and you're not going to be under pressure. And that's a fair point. That is a fair point. But a manager under pressure ain't, you know, calling up, you know, Pelestri to come and play against Liverpool, man. It's not happening. It's not happening. All right, we got Mark with another. Mark, we appreciate all the super chats in this show. We appreciate all of them. Name a United Premiership winning team that Maguire would get into. What? Why are people going up against? Why are people turning against Maguire? I know he's not looked phenomenal this season, but what is people's issue? Maguire is a good centre back. Maguire next to Varane, once that partnership gels, is a centre back partnership good enough to win the Premier League, right? Stop hating on. Like I don't know what it is. I don't want to accuse you of hating on someone, but stop this, you know, flip flopping on Maguire right now, because when Maguire was our best centre back and one of the keys to us even being able to grab second towards the end of last season, I weren't seeing people complaining. When Maguire was, you know, the best centre back for England in the Euros, I weren't seeing people complaining. Maguire has a mediocre start to the season. He gets injured. Maguire's not good enough. Well, you know, Maguire would never get into any. Come on, man. We've got to do better, people. We've got to do better. Let's not do this with Maguire. Let's not. I don't know why people onto John. I don't know why people onto Maguire either as well. Did I miss something? Is there a report? Did a journalist come out and say Maguire is you know, is potentially going to be leaving the club or something? And people are getting excited. Like, what happened with Maguire? Like, why are people going on about Maguire? I don't understand. Don't understand it. You know, what's wrong? I don't know. What's wrong with people every day? What is wrong with people every day? That is the real question. I try and read chat to interact, but every other message I'm seeing right now in chat is just people slandering Maguire, and I'm not about that. I'll be honest. I'm not about that whatsoever. So I'm gonna just ignore that for a second, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about something else in the meantime. Opinion on Martial's future at United. So with Martial, the big question is going to be asked with Martial in the next coming weeks and months, because I've seen a lot of reports about Newcastle trying to get Martial, and I don't think that would happen. I don't think Martial should. If I was personally advising Martial, I would not tell him to go to Newcastle, just because I think Martial's good enough to be playing in the Champions League for some team out there somewhere in Europe. Now, with that being said, I think Martial's future is definitely in question at the club because people go, well, you're not playing up front because Ronaldo and Cavani occupy that space. Rashford's back, and Rashford plays out on the left. When Rashford don't play at the left, it's going to be Sancho or Pogba, right? So I think a lot of people are going, where does Martial fit in long term and feature regularly? And I like Martial a lot, and I would have loved, for things to have worked out better for Martial at the club. I think things did I think he's had a bit of a rocky journey. He's played well. He's had bad runs of form. He's not been supported. It happens. It happens with players. But ultimately, I think people are probably saying, yeah, his time might be up. And if his time is up, I'm sure there'll be a long list of clubs in for him. I'm not sure. I'd assume the club would, want their money back kind of thing, right? They'd want at least 50 mil for him, probably. If Newcastle want him, then they got to offer us 80 million minimum. If Newcastle want Martial, start the offer at 80 million and maybe we'll respond to your email in that. Minimum, right? Because we know they got the old money. But yeah, I don't know. I think Martial is probably the kind of player who would maybe be on the way out towards the end of next season, or this season, sorry. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think of Martial. If you think he should stay, if you think he should leave, based off of the energy I'm seeing from the club right now, or from the chat right now, a lot of you probably gonna start spamming leaving Martial slander, but that's a different question. PSG are willing to offer Paul Pogba 28 million euros a year or 600k a week contract to join in the summer of 2022, according to Le 10 Sport. You can have him, bro. PSG, you can have him. I love Paul Pogba. 600,000 euros a week. Nah, B. Nah. I'm sorry. What is that in pounds? 600k euros in pounds. What is that? Nah, man. Not interested in that one. Not interested in that one. I think we saw the reports of PSG in summer. I don't even see the fit. I don't think it makes much sense. PSG don't need more attacking players, right? Like anybody who's watched a lot of PSG this summer, they don't need more attacking players. So I don't really see why on earth they're in for Pogba now. But if that is the case, that they're going to be willing to offer him a contract, power to them. All the power to them. Rough Patch says, how about a 3-2-1-4 formation? 3-2-1-4? I beg your pardon? A 3-2-1-4? You mean just a 5-2-3? Anyway, we spoke about it. In terms of 3-5-back combinations and formations. I talked about it at the start of the show. It probably would be the best way to get, a lot out of Pogba, but I don't think we're going to see it. I don't think we're going to. It could work. The numbers you were giving me were a bit higgy, so I'm not too sure, but it maybe could work. Phil, get those boots warmed up? Hopefully not. Rashford, Ronaldo, Greenwood, and Cavani. Well, guys, that's another thing, right? One thing to be optimistic about is we get to see Rashford after this international break. Now, that's the one thing I'm happy about. Hopefully we can see him lacing it up against Leicester. That would be good. If we could get Sancho, Rashford, and Ronaldo as a front three. I'd love that. I would absolutely love that. 5-5-2. Yep, let's play a 5-5-2. Yeah, nice. Guys, look, I'm gonna head out. It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy doing these morning shows, even when people are moving brazy in the chat. I appreciate all of you guys. We'll be back later today on the channel. I believe there's an 8 o'clock show. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you would do about Varane's injury blow. Would you play a back five with Phil Jones, Lindelof, and Bailly, or would you just play Lindelof and Bailly in a 2? Let me know in the comment section below. My name's Devin2K. It's been real. See you guys all later.